Well, for more, let's bring in House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer. Congressman, thank you very much for joining us. I want to start on this topic and get your reaction, of course, to the death of those two U.S. service members. One, also, we should note, still missing. But I also want to get your take on how the U.S. should respond to this, because the New York Times is writing, even the most sophisticated military forces are not enough if there's no strategy to turn battlefield superiority into lasting political and diplomatic success. Mr. Trump faces the added challenge of trying to win using only air and sea power without politically unpalatable use of ground troops on Iranian soil. So your reaction to where we're at and what you're hearing from your constituents about how we should respond.
Well, I don't think anyone would prefer that we have any type of military conflict in Iran, but that's the world that we live in. Every president has faced challenges from Iran. President Trump's the first president in recent memory that's taken them on. And we cannot allow Iran to have nuclear weapons. And we have to respond when we have a peace agreement that they break and you know, we have American lives that were lost. We have to respond. We have to respond swiftly and with full force. And that's what President Trump's doing. And hopefully this week in Congress, we'll pass our budget reconciliation 3.0 and NDAA and fund our military to where that won't be a concern moving forward. And we can finish the job just as the general said before I came on.
I want to turn, as you mentioned, to some of these initiatives happening in the House this week. You know, the president last week made another push for the Save America Act, including in his primetime address on Thursday. But the Wall Street Journal editorial board says that that speech didn't make the case for the Save America Act while sowing distrust. Their headline is "The Save America Act Backfire." And they write, quote, "The public likes voter ID, with a poll last year finding 83% of adults and 71% of Democrats favor it. Yet the Save America Act goes further, rendering most driver's licenses insufficient to register to vote. And that's to say nothing of Mr. Trump's push to override laws in many GOP states, Florida, Georgia, most of the Midwest, that offer mail-in ballots for convenience." And Senator Tom Tillis has raised some concern that this might not even be possible in time for November because of all of the different municipalities that actually carry out the elections. Here's what he said this week.
These people are misleading you if they're telling you that this can be implemented by November. The only thing that will occur is an undermining of the election integrity, the integrity of our elections right now.
Can you respond to what he said there and help answer, you know, if the voters believe, as he is forecasting, that elections can't be trusted, you know, how can Republicans win the election in November?
Well, first of all, I'm like a majority of North Carolinians. I'm ready for Tillis to go back home. You know, we have to have election integrity. The polling is overwhelming in both parties. Every American expects our votes to be secure. And why in the world there are some states who just happen to be Democrat states that don't want to require a voter ID, a real ID to go in and vote? That's preposterous. We do that right here in Kentucky. In fact, every red state requires an ID to vote. The only reason I can think you wouldn't want an ID to vote is if you're creating some type of mischief or cheating. So I think the president's doing the best that he can as far as trying to encourage the Senate to do their job. What I think senators and most politicians reply best to are polls, and the polling is overwhelming. Over 90% of Republicans and 80% of Democrats think that you should be required to show proof of citizenship before you can get a ballot to vote in an election. It's not that complicated. And for the life of me, I don't understand why there are so many senators who oppose that. Let's just get this done. I agree with Tillis. This is the last week. This is the last week for a number of reasons, because we're heading into the August work period where Congress is not in session, and we're heading into the November elections. So this has to happen this week. I want to remind everyone, we have passed this bill in the House, It's now up to the Senate. I've spoken with Speaker Johnson. He is communicating with Leader Thune on trying to get this. This is a priority. We keep passing bills and attaching the SAVE Act in the House. So hopefully it'll get done this week. And I've got my fingers crossed. And I join an overwhelming majority of Americans in demanding that the Senate do its job and go with the people and give the American public confidence that our elections are secure. Speaking
of the remaining legislative days you guys have left on the calendar, government funding runs out September 30th. House Republicans, as you mentioned, they're slated to put out a clean CR this week. But if the president pushes, to tack on the Save America Act, do you worry that that could bring on a government shutdown if Democrats refuse to support it?
Well, the Democrats are going to do everything they can to try to shut the government down. That's what they do. They're good at that. They unfortunately have one or two Republicans in the House and the Senate that usually go along with them. Again, I think that we have to do whatever means necessary to pass the SAVE Act. But at the same time, government shutdowns are not good. They're not productive. And hopefully the American people will see if there's a shutdown, who's at fault here. When you have an issue that's simple, it's not complicated. It's not like healthcare reform that's very complicated. This is an issue, a simple language that would require an ID to show proof of citizenship before you can receive a ballot to vote. That's it. A third grader could understand that. So hopefully we'll get that done in the Senate this week. And again, I'm glad that Speaker Johnson is communicating with John Thune about this. I don't know how many more messages the House of Representatives can send the Senate that we support the president and the majority of the American people. We want the Senate to do its job and pass the SAVE Act, or at least pass the version of the SAVE Act that requires proof of citizenship before you're allowed to vote.
Okay. Congressman Comer, thank you so much. Always appreciate talking to you, sir. Thanks for coming on Sunday Briefing.
Thank you, Jackie.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.